We're back on the air with the Restaurant Brokers. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon, and this week we're joined by two legal experts in the restaurant industry, Grady Thrasher and Patrick Norris. And just continuing this great discussion that we were having, Eric, kick us off with a question.
Yes, thank you, Robin. Yes, Ken, thank you so much for being here today. I want to go beyond the buyer and the seller, the transaction itself. I've read some great articles recently about the legal field and how there's so many other things. Like Grady mentioned, slip and fall, employment issues. It could be some risk mitigation issue. Big negative thing happened, food poisoning. There's real estate now, and also Patrick mentioned leases. How do you find an attorney or group of attorney, and do you recommend to gather this team up front and start preparing up front instead of asking for forgiveness later? Grady?
Well, of course you have your team up front, but it's rare I get a new client who has done everything you want them to do. And the reason is that as people who've hired attorneys know, they're expensive. And one interesting thing about, and I learned this very early on, about doing restaurant deals, especially smaller ones, maybe less than $200,000 or less than $250,000 in total value, is that they have all the same problems that a deal may have that's worth $20 million. But all those problems are compressed into a smaller transaction. And some of those problems that might be a $20,000 problem for a big deal is only about a $200 problem for a small deal. So it's important to have the experience and the background to be able to understand, okay, yeah, you have these potential problems, but we can't address them all, because if we addressed every single one of them, you'd have a $20,000 legal bill, and that's an expensive bill for a small company. So all the things you mentioned, potentially each one of those would require its own specialized attorney who's doing his own specialized thing. So what you really need, though, is an experienced counsel who has experience in all those areas and can advise you as to what's the most important, and advise you as to what you should try to do on your own, what you should go get a specialized attorney for, and what you should, and what that more generalist can do for you. It's kind of like having a family practice doctor, and he'll bring in a specialist as necessary.
I think that's really great advice, and I think it is so true what you said. People will ask us sometimes why our commission is the same on a small deal as it is on a big deal, and honestly, I have to say I think the small deals are more work at the end of the day. They typically come with more problems and more issues that we have to offset. So Patrick, what's your thought on that, specialist versus generalist?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, Grady and I are in business, and we're going to have people who want to use us for our services. We have to provide value. We're going to have angry clients, and there's not going to be business. So I think part of being a corporate counsel attorney is being able to assess a problem and provide value. So minimizing our fees, and they're going to cut into the bottom line. As a business owner, it's all about the bottom line. So if they're not giving the bottom line, if they're taking half their bottom line or 75% of the bottom line.
But is there a way maybe for them to kind of have schedules that, hey, you should do this in the first year, you need to address these 2 or 3 types of things, and then year 2 we can address this. So, because you know what happened, if somebody slip and fall, it's kind of too late now to put a policy in place about, how we handle these things. And a lot of times you guys can put policies and procedures in place, advise them on that, and it's not always as much as they think. Would you not guys agree with that there's some things in play, like liquor licensing, for instance? I know they have to have certain policies and procedures in place. If they get any issues, they will be able to minimize the fines and the penalties. So it's like you pay it forward, or you going to pay a bigger amount later, right?
Right. But as Patrick said, a lot of what we do, just because of the cost structure of attorneys, you don't want your attorney doing all your grunt work for you. You don't want him filling out forms. You don't want him finding out information for you that you can find out just by going to a website. So, for example, the liquor license issues. Most states and localities have real detailed websites which lay out all you need to do. There are a number of professional organizations that talk about how to train your employees about food safety, about how to protect against slip and falls. These are all things you can do to educate yourself. Now, you can rely on your attorney to do all that, but it's a real expensive thing to do. what you want to do is try to educate yourself as much as possible about the issues. Have the attorney lay out for you, okay, this is the universe of things that you need to worry about, and then go out and educate yourself about those. If you have specific questions, you're confused about something, then go back to your attorney and ask them, answer those questions. That's really the best way to use an attorney, not as a journalist who's going to do everything for you, but as a resource to answer things you don't understand, and when problems do crop up, to help solve those for you.
I think that's really good feedback.
Great advice.
Patrick, what do you think?
Yeah, my approach when I meet a new business owner, whether they're literally filing their LLC for the first time or they're just coming to me to have an existing business, is, for Grady and I, we have to get up to speed because we don't represent all of our businesses don't do the same thing. We have to understand specifically what that business is doing and all this special considerations for that business. So a lot of times my approach is kind of like buying a new house. There's 15 things we want to do to get the house where we eventually want to be at. So the first thing we're going to do is analyze those 15 things. Here are the 5 things we need right now, and then based on the client's budget for attorneys, we have to look at being done if possible, the ones that have to be done. Then over time, we're going to work towards getting all 15 done.
And it's also true that in any given transaction, the franchise is going to have specific requirements, and those would include insurance requirements, which is going to handle part of the risk in the transaction. The lease is going to have specific requirements, and those are going to also include some insurance requirements. So there's more oversight happening in the deal than just that attorney saying, yes, I blessed this deal and it's all good.
Yeah, those are going to be one of the things that have to, you don't have an option. You got to have a budget when you start the business. So, again, a lot of that is stuff, even with insurance, I mean, it's stuff that attorneys can be involved in much or little as they want to. A lot of times it's a luxury to have an attorney involved. Some stuff like that, or maybe for them to say, here's what you need to go get. You need to go find a capable insurance professional. Some people have the luxury of having an attorney do everything for them. It's just a matter of
And how large your checkbook is, I think. That's just about all the time we have for this segment. So I do want to thank both of our guests who have just been outstanding, and remind you that you can find us online at WeSellRestaurants.com, where there will be links back to today's show as well as video, and you can find our video on our YouTube channel as well. Take a moment and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. Find us on Twitter. Our handle is Sell Restaurants, and of course we're on LinkedIn as well. We Sell Restaurants is your industry authority and source for information. We'll return after the break.